Hey guys, what's going on? So, just so that you know that this is definitely not a Rush Royale, it's Rush Royale adjacent, but just so that you know that this is definitely not a gameplay video. I decided to do this as a just person-to-person video that you can obviously, like most of my, like 90% of my videos, use as like an audio, like podcast thing. You can set your phone aside because you don't need to look at my face. Unless you want to look at my face, then hello. This is something that I wanted to talk about because it's a number of different things that I'm kind of like squishing together. This is usually how I do my videos anyway. It's like I gather a bunch of different ideas that don't feel like a full video in and of itself. But then if I push them all together and made a cohesive thing about it, it kind of feels like a video to me. And that's what this is. And it comes into the idea in the way that it's Rush Royale related is why do I like punking people that complain about the game when I as a player of this game also complain about this game, and why do I tell people like if you don't like this game as much as you say that you do, like people in the Discord, people in comments, and they're just constantly saying, oh, I hate this game, this game sucks, like this game is pay to win, like why do I like jump on those people if I myself make videos about how I complain about this game? And then it got me thinking about like just who I am as a person and like the kind of like things that I stand for and the things that I don't stand for, and like my moral compass on things. And Wicked for Good is coming out next week, and I'm very excited. And if you don't know, I'm a very big movie guy. I watch all movies. I don't just watch popular movies. I just watched Keeper, and it was terrible. I wouldn't recommend it. This is also going to be a movie, like I'm going to explain Wicked for you who have maybe never seen Wicked, maybe you have seen Wicked. I'm basically going to spoil Wicked because it's my favorite thing to talk about, and ever since I saw it a year ago, for the, not first time, but for the first real time, it changed me for good. And I made a separate movie channel, like movie review channel, that I basically stopped doing because I wasn't getting any traction. Like most of my videos were like, I don't think I ever hit double digits on any one video. And I wasn't doing it for too long, but I did post like, I don't know, 10 or 12 reviews about things that I was watching as I was watching them. And I don't think any video got more than like 10 views. I don't think anything hit double digits. And because of that, I just kind of like lost interest in trying to pursue that. I will eventually, sometime next year, restart that again. I'm going to be moving. It's going to be a whole thing. I'm moving to a different state. And then I will attempt to restart my movie review channel in like a very like, I don't care how many views I get, I just want to do it. And that's why I started it. But at the same time, you kind of want that viewer number. And it doesn't have to be like 1 million viewers. Like this channel has 2,000, 2,600. And I've always said that that's enough for me. Like I don't need more. And it's enough to make me want to do this. That number is enough to make me want to do this. I don't have high expectations for my life. And that's the other side of it. I don't have high expectations for my life. And that's the third part of this entire equation. And it's just who I am personally and whatnot. So we're going to go into all three of those topics and how they kind of relate. Now, I'll start with Wicked. If you don't know about Wicked, it's a movie based on the play, and the play was loosely based on the book, which was also loosely based on the L. Frank Baum movie, which was loosely based on the L. Frank Baum novel. And so that's the trajectory of how removed this movie is from the original Wizard of Oz. It's like inspired by, but it's not completely. And so the way that you're supposed to go into Wicked is, like Wicked is notoriously known for the Wicked Witch of the West. So you're supposed to go into this movie, and especially because of the opening scene where you're seeing Glinda at the end of Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch has just been melted, and then Glinda says that the wizard is already gone off on his balloon, and then somebody in the crowd says, "Is it true you were her friend?" And then she's like, "Yes, we were friends. Let me go into this backstory." And so now your idea for going into Wicked is that this is a movie about the origin story of how the Wicked Witch became the Wicked Witch, right? And Elphaba is your main character, obviously, as well as Glinda. And Elphaba, you're watching Elphaba's journey, being this like ostracized, like nobody likes her because of her green skin, and like everybody, it's so weird, and she's so different, and so like she's so gross, right? And and she wants to meet the wizard. Now, if you've seen Wizard of Oz, you know that the wizard is not really a wizard, and that he's just a magician, basically. He's a glorified magician, and he doesn't actually have magical powers. But as you're watching Wicked, Elphaba does have magical powers. So the twist at the end of Wizard of Oz is that, you think that, Dorothy, who is a regular girl, can get to the wizard who has magical powers to be able to send her home, right? And the twist in Wizard of Oz is that the wizard, it doesn't have magical powers. You know that that's not the twist in this movie because you already know Wizard of Oz. But it's also playing on the idea that you know that Elphaba, the Wicked Witch, the green Wicked Witch, is supposed to be evil. And the actual twist is that she's not. You go through this entire movie and you realize that she is the only character in this movie that is doing good things. And I remember getting to the end of this movie for the first time, and that was the big twist to me. Little did I know that the big twist of this movie is actually bigger than that. And that's why I love this movie so much. It's a top 3 movie to me. It is a infinitely rewatchable movie because the more that you know about this movie, the more you have the ability to rewatch it and then notice something else. Something that I noticed on first watch is in the opening scene when she presses something on the bubble, when it disappears because she pops it, and then she presses something and then it like reforms again. And it got me thinking, because I got to the end of the movie and I was like, and I was talking to my girlfriend and I was like, well, no, they're just two sides of like a different coin, like Glinda and Elphaba. And my girlfriend understood that Glinda is the real evil person in this movie. That everything that she does is something that like she could do, like she could join Elphaba at the end and help her change Oz and join in her crusade against the animals. But she instead decides to take the easy route, which is to stay with the wizard and Madame Morrible, as opposed to being ostracized from Oz and join Elphaba. And even though that is the right thing to do, it's revealed that the wizard and Madame Morrible have plans for the animals of Oz. That they're basically trying to make them not speak anymore so that they can be pets. Even though Oz was originally ruled by animals, you can see that at the school, where when Elphaba has her outburst in the beginning, and the stones crack. What was there before, or I'm sorry, when the stones crack, it's showing the wizard, and when they crack, then you see that all of the animals as professors are underneath. and Oz, the great and powerful Oz, covered them up so that the school would worship him instead of the idea that animals used to rule this place. Smart animals used to rule, like all the animals speak and they're all smart, and that's what used to rule this place. But then you find out that when the wizard got there was a drought caused by the animals. And that wasn't true at all. There was just a drought. And the idea that the wizard had the ability to rally everybody, to make everybody think that the animals were the cause of the drought, is what started the entire regime of change within Oz. And the idea that the animals are no longer in power, that everybody should be looking towards the wizard because he is the great and powerful Oz. Now, I remember watching the movie for the first time, and when I got out of it, I was like, oh yeah, there's like a subplot with the animals, but it's not really big. I'm sure they'll expand about it, like in the next movie. But this movie is about the relationship between Glinda and Elphaba, and I love that relationship. And I cried at this moment, and I cried at this moment, and I cried at this moment. And I remember when my girlfriend finally watched it, who is somebody much smarter than I, and I will always say that because she is. She watched it and realized throughout the whole movie that Glinda's the evil one. That the twist is not that Oz doesn't have powers. The twist is not that Elphaba is the good one. The real twist of this movie is that Glinda is the bad one. Glinda is a person of privilege who doesn't have the ability, who wants everybody to be her friend. She will do everything that Glinda does throughout this entire movie is in service of her. Everything that she does is so that the public perception of Glinda the person is positive, and she will do anything that she can to keep that up. And it's from frame one to frame, the end frame of Glinda. That is her character. Her character in the first movie is, I want everybody to like me no matter what. And realizing that if she goes with Elphaba at the very end, like she promises that she will because they're best friends, and she just chooses not to, it's because she doesn't want the public perception of who she is as a person to change. She likes everybody liking her. And so even though that is the correct decision to go with Elphaba and to make change, she chooses not to. And that is something that I've had to struggle with. I've had to struggle with this because my girlfriend is very much an Elphaba. And I don't want to say that I'm a Glinda, but I'm definitely more of a Glinda than I am an Elphaba. And the easy thing for anybody to say is that, no, I'm an Elphaba, I would make change. I see that something is being done that's wrong, and I want to do something to change that thing. And the way I've justified it, the way that I've realized that I've justified it in my head is that I'm a realist. And what does that mean? That means that I have the ability to see things that are wrong, and I just kind of I'll give you an example. This is an example of something that happened to me a long time ago at my work. I was off the clock. I clocked out, and I was in the back. Now, in the back, it's separated by two doors, so no customer can see me, right? It's separated by two doors. There's a table, and I'm in the back, right? And I'm off. I've clocked out. I have this jacket on, and I'm definitely off. And I was just eating my food in the back, waiting for me to finish my food so that I could leave, and then because I was done for the day, right? I just didn't want to, take my food. I was so hungry. I just ate there. I wanted to eat there. And I was watching John Campea show, something that I watch all the time. And I was watching it on my phone, right? I had my earbud in, but I was watching it on my phone. The owner of my restaurant looked at me and said, "Are you supposed to be on your phone?" And I said, I'm off, right? Which isn't an answer. That's not a yes or no answer. I just thought that contextually he would understand I'm clocked out and I'm back here. And so I said, I'm off. And then he reiterated the question, "Are you supposed to be on your phone?" And I said, "No." Because what else was I supposed to say in that moment? And he said, "Then get off your phone." And it's something that I will never forget. I will never forget. I will be, 40 years from now, I will reiterate this story of a thing that definitely happened at work. I was off the clock and I was in the back where nobody could see me, and I was changed and I was clocked out and I was on my phone. And I could not be on my phone. Now, meanwhile, like managers, like this is the owner, right? But managers have the ability to be on their phone for whatever reason during a shift. One of my managers was actively watching a football game while he was bartending. But I could not be in the back, clocked out and changed, and be on my phone. Right? Following me here? Now, the Elphaba thing to do, right? Because if we see an injustice, we should fight against it. The Elphaba thing to do would be to look at the owner of the restaurant that I work at and be like, "Fuck you. I'm off the clock. I can do whatever the fuck I want. Fuck you and your fucking rules." That's a stupid fucking rule. Maybe in like changed language, but essentially that. Right? I'm off the clock. I have already clocked out. I'm not taking up your, you're not paying me. And I just thought that I would enjoy my food. And then I'm going to leave. As soon as I finish my food, I'm just going to leave. Right? I didn't want to, I'm not trying to be a distraction to anybody. I'm not talking to my coworkers and distracting them that are clocked in, right? I'm just sitting here and I just wanted to eat my food and then I will leave, right? That would be the Elphaba thing to do. And then immediately get fired, right? For insubordination, because there is a rule that you cannot be on your phone within the building. That if you are in the building, you are here to work. And if you're not here to work, you should probably leave. Like there's no reason for you to be here anymore because you're clocked out. So now you're just loitering, right? Essentially. And the only reason why we allow you to stay is because we're being nice. But if you are then going to then be on your phone and become a distraction, theoretically, then you become a problem. And it's a stupid fucking rule. And I think we all agree it's a stupid fucking rule. It's an insane rule. I'm clocked out. I'm not trying to bother anybody. I'm done, right? And the Elphaba thing to do is to get fired. The Elphaba thing to do is to realize that this is a stupid rule and I need to make change and, so that they understand and so that everybody, all my coworkers can take a message back from me, right? So that all my coworkers can rally against the injustice of this rule and how stupid it is. And they will all realize, and they'll change. And the owner of this place will be like, "Wow, this was a weird rule. I can't believe we lost like a valued employee like Elliot. I can't believe we lost him because of this. You know what? We're changing this rule." That would be the Elphaba thing to do, right? Because it's the right thing to do, right? But I'm a realist, and that's how I justify it. I don't want to get fired over this. I kind of need this job. Getting fired over this based off of a principle that I have, that it's a stupid fucking rule and that it was an insane situation. Getting fired from this would mean that I don't have income till I find a new job. I have to now find a new job or else I get kicked out of my house, right? And this is what I mean. I don't have high expectations of my life. I don't have like dreams of grandeur. It's another Wicked reference. It's another Defying Gravity. I don't have illusions of grandeur. Delusions of grandeur, I think is the line. If I can go to work and that job pays for everything that I do, that's all I really need. I don't have high expectations in my life. I have 2,600 subscribers on here, and I don't really care for more than that. And I feel like I'm not trying to change the world. I will try to change things that I can change. But if I realize that I can't change it, or if it's probably not going to matter, or statistically it's probably not going to do anything. I've had coworkers get fired over reasons like this. Like that they just speak up and, you know, like it becomes like a thing and, you know, like they're like, you know, this is so stupid, your stupid rule, your stupid fucking rule, and I'm out of here. Or they get fired because they said it, right? Or they, you know, they do something. Or they don't do anything. They unjustly get fired. And a lot of people, like in the wake of them getting fired for like 1 or 2 days, everybody will say, this job sucks. I hate this job. And like, we should all mass quit. I remember there was an idea that we were all going to mass quit on this one big occasion. And I knew that nothing was going to come out of that. And I knew that like every time anybody has ever gotten fired or, you know, has ever left because of a reason, we all like say, you know, we're going to be an Elphaba and we're going to leave. We're going to leave this place. Screw this job. This job sucks, you know, right? Because everybody wants to be an Elphaba. Because Elphaba is the hero of Wicked. She's the unsung hero of Wicked. And then in Wicked for Good, like that just expands. She gets ostracized by the community in the way that she was silently being ostracized in the first movie. She assumed, and you know, in some cases rightfully so, that people were talking about her and that people disliked her and that people thought that she was weird and strange. And in the second movie, they're like, we should kill you. We should murder you because you're different and you're weird and you're strange. We're like, this was a silent thing before. Second movie, it's like, we are going to actively say this and actively try to murder you. And that is that's the problem. The second movie has been described as the Find Out. If the first movie, it should be called Wicked Fuck Out, Wicked Fuck Around, and then Wicked Find Out. That's what it should. That's what the two movies should be called. It's the Fuck Around and then Find Out. Because on the flip side of that is Glinda, and her journey from now that she has all of this undeserved power. What does that come? Like what cost does that cause her? It causes this fake love from everybody, and she lost the one person that mattered to her, which was Elphaba, the only person that even kind of changed her or tried to make her see a different path. And now she has all this undeserved power, and she's being controlled by Madame Morrible and the Wizard. right? And that's the cost that she pays. Whereas the cost that Elphaba pays is that she is in the right, but now she's in the right by herself alone, banished from the community. And that's the thing. It's like I could be right and speak out about this injustice to the owner of this restaurant and get fired and have to leave. And if I thought that would make us a change, if I thought that would positively change the restaurant and make things better for everybody else, maybe I'd do it. But I'm a realist. And by being a realist, I have the ability to just go through a bunch of different scenarios in my head of what would this really do. And again, I've seen people get fired unjustly sometimes. And, just for whatever rule that we currently have, and that they weren't following the rule maybe one time, maybe two times, maybe, it's kind of like when you do a rolling stop at a stop sign, right? And a cop is behind you, or a cop happens to see you, and they see that you didn't stop for 3 seconds, you only stopped for 2 seconds, and you're supposed to do a complete and full stop for 3 seconds, but you did it for 1 second, right? There was nobody crossing, there was no cars around, but you didn't stop, and that is the rule. And so you get a ticket. But then, you're driving and people run red lights, and, jaywalkers cross in front of you that you have to avoid. And those people don't get tickets, but you do, right? People have been fired for reasons like that. Like that they'll do something that most people do, or that, that has happened before. Like getting fired because you're late. And yet there's people who are late all the time and they don't get fired. Things like that, right? And we've seen this, and nothing has changed. And being a realist, I see that even if something is unjust at this place, and somebody gets fired for whatever reason, everybody will have your back and say, this fucking sucked that you got fired. But then at the same time, it doesn't change anything. Nothing really happens. I was very high up on the Rush Royale, who I could talk to list. And I had the ability to, when I became a Rush Royale content creator, and I became an official Rush Royale content creator, and I was able to directly message moderators and, higher up people, I always got the same answer. And it's the same answer that you guys get all the time. We'll pass it on to the dev team. And I never got to talk to the dev team. I only got to talk to the people that you talk to. Maybe I got to talk to them in a direct message, where they specifically messaged me, as opposed to a, English chat. But I didn't talk to anybody high up. And so there's a part of, there's an idea, right? That I talk about this game as if though I complain about things about this game. But my problems are not with the game necessarily. It's with the developers and the moderators and the people behind the game. I don't complain about them changing the price of, a season pass from $10 to $12. That's not what makes me mad. What makes me mad is that the moderators, or, when they make a post about it, they will make a post about it, about how it gives you better value. And if I look at it and they're taking away stuff, I'm just like, no, it doesn't. It's not giving you better value at all. I don't care that you change the price. I don't even care that you change the rewards. But don't say to everybody else, don't boldface lie to everybody else that it's better value, that we're doing it for you. That's what I have a problem with. most people would look at this game and say, this game is, like, it used to be it used to be $10 for a season pass. Now it's $12. They're just a greedy company. It's like, no. Like, I'm okay with greed. That's how a company functions. That's how a company works. That's how a company stays in business, right? Because you pay money to the company. What I'm angry about is the optics. I'm not mad that my manager said, you can't be on your phone. It's kind of the way that he did it, that he didn't explain anything, and it felt very because that's what most of the time, when answers start to feel like because, why did you do this? Why is this a rule? And they say because it's a rule, and they don't explain it, and they just try to justify it in a different way. If he explained why I couldn't be on my phone in the back, clocked out, and the answer was because it's a rule. There's a big part of me that wants to bring up the fact that my manager watches the football game while he's behind the bar. I'm just like, why can he do that? But I do think that the answer to that would also be because he's a manager and he has to be on his phone. Why? Why does he have to be on his phone? Because he has to be very vigilant to his phone. Because what if I text him something important? I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, I pick and choose my battles. And a lot of people just battle everything. Any change, anything that happens in the game. Somebody in the Discord complained about how they bought the pass and they didn't get a single Lucia fragment in any of the chests. And there are 17 chests. There are 17 chests in that season pass, in the event pass. 17 chances at a 10% rate to get a Lucia shard. And that they finished the whole thing and they didn't get a single Lucia shard. And my argument to them was, who cares, basically. And they said that it's disingenuous for them to give you nothing and you paid for it, and for them to only give you a chance at a Lucia shard. And I was like, okay, let's expand on that. Your problem is that you didn't get a single Lucia shard in 17 chances. And I said, well, what if you got 17 Lucia shards? What if every single one was as you suggested, that you want to pay and get exactly what you want? What if instead you got 17 Lucia shards? Because each one was a guaranteed Lucia shard. Well, then the new complaint would be 17 shards doesn't even equal a level 1 Lucia. 25 shards do. So then your thing would be, well, then it should be 2. They're so greedy. They're only giving you 1 shard. That would be the narrative. That would be the new complaint. The new complaint would be, they only give you 1 shard. That's not even enough to unlock Lucia, right? So, okay, we'll give you 2 shards guaranteed 17 times. What is the math on that? 17 times 2, 14 to 34 shards. So, okay, so now you get to unlock Lucia at 25 shards, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4. Would you get like a level 9 Lucia at best? A level 9 Lucia at the exact rate of 2 shards per 17 boxes. you'd get like a level 9 Lucia. That's still not better than what your epic heroes should be, what your epic heroes are. That's a very good rate for $10. If you could get a level 9 Lucia for $10, that would be insane, right? But it's still not even good. A level 9 Lucia is not going to beat a level 90 Gadget, a level 90 Mermaid, a level 90 Mary, like Mari, right? You're still going to use something else, at which point you're still going to say, oh, this is still just pay to win. Now I have to upgrade it, and it's still not usable and it's still useless, right? Then that would be the new thing. You would be like, it should be more shards. You should be able to unlock a level 20 at least. And it would just scale, right? My thing for this whole thing is to just accept that I'm not going to get a Lucia. I just accept that fact. I don't, I'm not the kind of person that would spend $2,000, $5,000 anyway, right? So complaining about the fact that each of these boxes, I'm either getting 1 Lucia shard, 2 Lucia shards, 3 Lucia shards, 0 Lucia shards, I don't care. That's not why I paid for the pass. Like, you should, look at the pass, look what you're gonna get, what you're theoretically gonna get. Don't look at what's the maximum possibility of what you can get. That would be like being angry that every time you open up one of the magic dust chests and it's giving you from either 50 to 1,000, you're always angry that it gives you 50. I assume that it's gonna give me 50, and if it's any more than that, I'm happy. But I'm not angry that it's never 1,000 and that they should change the percentages. I don't care. That's not, I accept that fact. And I feel like a lot of people in the Discord specifically would look at me and say, why are you so passive? Why are you being such a Glinda? Like, why do you just accept this? Why, because I talk to people that like to speak out, that like to say, fuck you, this is a stupid rule, it's so stupid, it's so fucking dumb, right? And my response to that kind of person is like, well, then why don't you quit? If you really believe this, why don't you quit? Like I stated that, that the rule that, I was in that position, I was on my phone, manager, comes up to me, and I thought it was dumb, but I have a choice there. I have a choice to either quit or to stay and make money that pays for the rest of my life. And if I truly wanted to be an Elphaba, I could say, fuck you, I'm out. I can be on my phone whenever I want. If I want to be on my phone, I'm going to be on my phone whenever I want. You can't stop me from being on my phone. If I really felt convicted to that, like it really meant something to me to be on my phone at that exact moment, I needed to finish my John fucking Campea show. The best show on YouTube. Like, if I was very convicted, I could just leave. You have that power. You have the power to do whatever you want. But you also have to understand that companies have the ability to do whatever they want. The free speech argument comes up a lot. And free speech is not freedom of consequence. John, brings it up all the time. And his analogy is, if I invite you to Thanksgiving dinner, you have the freedom of speech to call my mother a whore. And I have the freedom to kick you out of my Thanksgiving dinner. You're infringing on my free speech, is the argument, right? Oh, I can say whatever I want. You can't. It's freedom of speech. I can call your mother a whore. It's like, yes, you can. But it's also my house and it's my Thanksgiving dinner. I can also kick you out. It's freedom of speech. It's not freedom of consequence. People like to speak up about this game And the reason why I don't, the reason why I'm not actively in the Discord complaining about moderators and, you know, and I do it in a joking way. I do it in a very meme-centric way. But the reason why every single update that comes out and every single change that they make, I'm not constantly in the Discord, it's because I understand that it's not my game. For one, it's not my game. It's theirs. My games. My games. It's their game. And two, I know that even at the height of who I could be in this community, a Rush Royale official content creator having the ability to message moderators in the Discord, direct message moderators in the Discord, they still treated me like how they treat everybody else. Like they don't care and have no power because they don't. And if I had the ability to get to that height and I still couldn't make change, nobody can. The answer is that nobody can. Now, if I was an Elphaba, I would attempt to make change anyway. But because I'm a Glinda, I'm a realist, and I understand that no matter how many times I say, bring back Death Waves! Death Wave was the best mode. You're a stupid fucking game if you don't bring back Death Waves. No matter how much I say that, I'm gonna quit if you don't bring back Death Waves. I'm gonna quit if you don't bring back Magic Crystals. I'm gonna quit if you don't change Demon Hunter to back when it was a meta unit. This game fucking sucks. No matter how much I say that in the chat. That's not gonna mean anything. It's not gonna do anything. I'm a realist in that I will do something if I think that it'll make a change. But if I don't think that it'll make a change and it's just gonna ostracize me from the community, I'm not gonna do it. If I thought that, you know, me having a conversation with the owner saying that this is a weird fucking rule, you need to change it, and if I thought that the owner would listen to me and say, oh, you know what, that's a great point, Elliot. You know, that's I never thought of it like that. I never thought about that you were off the clock, and this such a good point. You know what, Elliot? You can be on your phone. Go enjoy the John Campea show. If I thought that could potentially happen, I'd say something. But I knew that was not going to happen and that I would just get fired. And do I want to get fired over this? Do I want to lose all of my income? Do I want to, does this mean enough to me? Now, at a certain point, something will mean enough to me that yes, this is a thing, this is a stupid job, I don't need this anymore. I'll give you an example. I had a different, I'm going to speed past. I had a different job. And it taught me the limit of how many times does a job have to make you cry in order for you to quit it. Because I think I was at 6. I was at 6 at this job. For different reasons, I left the job and I was crying, or I was crying at home, or I was crying in my car when I left it, or I was maybe crying at work. 6. And I had never asked for a singular day off. I whatever schedule they gave me for the entirety of my time working there, which might have been a year, which is insane to think about, I showed up to every shift, and I did not care. It was my job. I wasn't doing anything else, right? And my ex was going to vacation to see me. And I asked, 2 months in advance, can I get these days off? And they said, we'll think about it, and then denied my request, saying that they didn't have anybody to cover my shift. And I was done. And I quit. So fast. I got hired in through a representative, and I called my representative, because they hire people into different jobs, but I don't work for, like that company. I work for this other company, right? And I called my representative and I said, how insane is this? And they said, that's abso-fucking-lutely insane. And they said, we will find you somewhere else. And they did. And they transferred me to a different job. I got the same pay, and I had the ability to leave that job. I'm not saying I don't stand for anything. I'm saying that I'm a realist. There are some things that I will not complain about that don't mean enough to me. And then there are some things that do. I feel okay complaining on my own channel because as a viewer of my channel, you want to hear my thoughts. But to complain in the English Discord of the Rush Royale official Discord, to think that they will change something because I said I'm angry about it, when even as a Rush Royale content creator who had the ability to message a moderator who would then say, we will pass it on to the dev team, your English Discord chat means less than 0% to them. It doesn't mean anything. And if you think that you're being an Elphaba and you're complaining, because I've had this chat before with people, I'm like, just so you know, this doesn't mean anything. Why are you still complaining? You should just quit the game. If you hate it this much, quit the game. You complain about every single update. Quit the game. And they'll say, well, is it better to be silent? And my thing is that I'm a realist. I realize that it's not my game and that that if I want to quit, I can quit whenever I want. That if something gets me as mad as some of the people in the Discord, that I can quit. If they make some change that I full-heartedly disagree with, the course of action is not to complain in the Discord chat. The course of action is to quit the game. Because they do not listen to anybody. Ever. And it doesn't matter how high you get in the ranks of the Rush Royale. They don't listen to anybody ever. But it's kind of like when you're hiring. Every place that you ever go to, when you ask them if they're hiring, they have to say yes. Why? Whether or not they are or not. Why do they have to say yes? Because if they didn't say yes, you could sue them for discrimination. If Rush Royale didn't have a forum where you could complain, then they would have no customer service. They would have no way. If you had no way of getting in touch with any developer, if you couldn't say to anything, your game is bugged, right? And get a response, you wouldn't play that game. It would be the worst game in the world. And nobody would play it. If there is a problem with a game that is currently updating and currently has updates and currently could have glitches, if you didn't have a way to voice that, you would just stop playing that game. If your game glitched and you had no course of action, you'd be like, well, this game is glitched. I'm just going to quit. I'm just going to delete this game. But because you have the ability to voice your opinion, you feel better about it. You feel better about, oh, maybe I can make change. When the true answer is, they're always hiring.